What we're going to look at today is we're going to go through our feature update releases for September. If anybody has questions, as always, feel free to post those in the chat in the Q&A session. I'll do my best to answer all of those on the call itself. But if you need to have any follow-ups, obviously you can contact your CSM or you can contact our support team via live chat. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. This is just a brief agenda. We're going to kind of go through some of the demos of the features here. Obviously, we'll have a little bit of time at the end for any additional Q&A, and then we'll just wrap up the session. Before I do jump into our demo portal to show you guys some of these features, there are a few AMS-specific product updates that we're not going to demo for you on this call, but we did still want to make sure you were aware of. If you are currently using one of these AMS. So the first one is any Nexure agencies. You now have the ability to filter by CSR in the contact account modules, as well as via lists in the engagement module. So if you were to access your filters, you should now see an option to filter by a specific CSR. In addition, we also added a new feature for AMS 360 and Sagitta. This is specifically to filter renewal pipeline automation by division. So as most of you are probably familiar, we have the ability to filter by whether it's specific types, so commercial or personal, whether it's by specific categories. Now for AMS 360 and Sagitta, we can actually filter by division as well from those AMSs. And the last specific product update we have is going to be for Hawksoft and QQ Catalyst. You now have the ability to set up a non-renewal pipeline automation. The actual workflow is going to be very similar to setting up a renewal pipeline automation. You still have the option to filter by specific policy types or categories, right? But in this case, we were wanting to get ahead of those policies we know which are not going to be renewing. So it allows you to get a bit of a head start on those. For all three of these features, I have included QR codes to the relevant knowledge base links. And as I said previously, if you guys have questions on these features, please do not hesitate to contact your respective CSM or contact the support team via live chat so they can give you a little bit more context onto each of these three features. Before I jump over to the demo portal, is there any questions that you guys would like to be addressed first? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right over to the demo portal. All right, guys, so first up on our list of features today, we're going to go to the account module. And we're going to take a look at some new fields that have been added. So now when you go into the account level, you are going to have the ability to the fields for revenue and insured address. Okay, so now that I've accessed this account, I can click on the edit button. And if I scroll through my list of available fields, I will see I now have the ability to input revenue directly onto the account level. And if I scroll a little further down, I can also add insured full address. Now this insured full address, it may differ. It may be the same as the existing mailing address. So you will also see this checkbox here, which will allow you to autofill it from the existing mailing address for an account. But if not, you can input it just like you would on the mailing address. You would type out your address, select it from the dropdown, and then it would autofill the details for Google. And then once you save that, you can now find the insured full address listed on the general information tab. Any quick questions on adding those fields there? Revenue is going to be very similar. You're going to input that as a field, and then it will be listed in the general information section for you. Additionally, if we were to, let's say I'm going to add my revenue here. So, and now if I go back into the main module page, I can select my table categories. I'll search for revenue. Let's just go ahead and move this up a little bit. And then once I save this, I'm going to see my revenue category here, and I will now have the ability to sort by revenue. So if I click on this option, I can go to the ascending or descending order, and it will now filter all of my available categories by revenue. Any questions on that first feature update? So then we're going to move on to our next module. This is going to be pipelines. Within pipelines, we have a couple new additions, actually. The first one is we now have the ability to add carrier when we create a deal card. Previously, you were only able to add carrier to the quote after it has already been created. We have now updated this so that when you click add a deal, as we're inputting our fields and creating the initial opportunity, we can now see deal carrier is listed as an option here. So I can save this with my deal carrier attached, and that will create the deal card for me. Additionally, we have also added logic to be able to merge duplicate cards based on the account or contact. So if you click on the three dots here in the top right corner, from this list, we can scroll down to merge pipeline cards, and you will now see any potential duplicates either by their listed contact or by their listed accounts. In order to merge them, we just need to select the ones that we want to merge. So if I go to Robert Harry's contact down here, I can merge all three of his deal cards, select merge pipeline card, and then I just need to select my master card. So let's say the master card is going to be the auto policy. I merge. And then what that's going to do is it's going to group all of those cards under one master now. In this case, it's the auto policy where I can view all those relevant quotes. In the top right corner, we have the ability to do this by certain pipelines. So I can switch over to my commercial pipeline and remove any duplicates from here. And I can also search for specific deal cards using the search function here in the top right corner. Okay, I do see a couple chats in here. Okay, so it looks like that's a popular improvement, so that's good. I don't see any questions at the moment, so I'll go ahead and move on to the next section here, which is going to be all about round robin logic. So right now, if we go into our board settings for the personal pipeline, we obviously have the ability to set goals. We have the ability to create labels and lost deal reasons. One of those features is round robin. Previously, when we enabled round robins into the system, it would always create them as private, and then it would assign it to the appropriate agent. Now, when we enable the round robin, we have the ability to tell the system whether to create it in shared or private. We have the option now. And we will build out our carousel here at the bottom. So we will say, I want this to go to Brianna first. Then I want it to go to John Smith. Then I want it to go to Leo, and so on. So now I'm building out the order in which he should be assigned, right? So the first time I create a deal card, I want that to go to Brianna. And the second time, it goes to John Smith. And it will continue to cycle through these, the list of agents here for as long as you keep this round robin active. Okay, so when we initially create the card, it's going to create in the board of our choosing, in this case shared. It will assign it to Brianna. And the next time I create a card, same thing, shared, but it will assign it to John Smith instead. Then Leo, then Anchor, and then it will start again from the beginning. I don't see any questions in chat regarding this function, so I'll go ahead and move on here. Like I said, any of these features that you have follow-up questions on, if you don't get them answered today, reach out to your CSM, reach out to support. You can also access the What's New button here at the very top of the page, and that will allow you to go to the release notes page for September of 2024, and you can find each corresponding article to all of the features we discussed today. For instance, we just talked about round robin logic, right? If I click on the round robin logic knowledge base article, I can view the enhancement and the instructions for setting it up directly from here. I think I see Glenn asking if you can still manually assign a card if you have a round robin active. Absolutely. You can still select a specific agent if you want to. That's not going to be any different than it would be today. The only thing that we've really changed with this logic is we've changed the ability to manually select shared or private. Previously, it was only going to the private deal board. Okay. So that is going to be all of our features for the pipeline module this month. Next, I'm going to go over to opportunities. Within opportunities, we did add an additional column. You can actually see it right off the bat here. We now have filtered, and let me go ahead and just pop out this range. We now have columns for renewed policies and pending renewal policies. So within the given range we selected, we can see which policies are already set for renewal, right? We've downloaded that policy from AMS. We've seen the renewal stamp on their deal card, right? We know they're pretty much set to go. For pending renewal, these are ones that we have not yet received that policy from AMS. Maybe you haven't reached out to them yet. So you can get that idea of Leo DiCaprio in the next 180 days. That's 25 policies pending renewal. If we click on this number 25 and we scroll down, we can see all of those upcoming policies which are still set to pending. And then as needed, we can download this list, we can save it to our reports module, or we can save these contacts to a engagement list and send out communications to this group as well. That's the main enhancement for the opportunities module. Now you can track both previously renewed and pending renewal policies. If we go ahead and take a look at our next module, which will be NPS. So I'll click on the Google Review module. At the top left corner, I'm going to select the NPS toggle. So the main update for NPS is we now have the ability, if we go into our notification settings, we now have the ability to select the agent of the contact as the recipient for those notifications. Okay, so now when we receive a response to NPS, we can determine when we should be notified, right? We have detractors 0 to 6, passive 7 to 8, promoters 9 to 10. You can toggle all of these on. You can leave on only a few. You can even preview the sample email communication that goes out when you receive this certain level of feedback. And then depending on who you've selected here, whether it's one specific individual or, as the enhancement states, whoever is listed as the assigned agent on the account, they will receive that email notification when the NPS score is submitted. What this does is it enables quicker follow-up for the direct point of contact. They immediately see that feedback and can reach out to the associated client and follow up on their conversation. I'll go ahead and save this as is. My settings have now been updated. So in the future, any NPS that I receive, that notification will go directly to the agent of the accountant. Right. The next feature we're going to look at is in the eSign module. This is something that I've actually heard requested quite a bit from some of my agencies. But if we go ahead, let's edit one of the drafts I have in here already. We're going to go back to the very beginning. Okay, so I've uploaded my document, right? And on the next screen, I'm going to add who I need to sign said document, right? Obviously, we have the ability to search by contact, by account, or by specific agent, right? But one thing that we can do now is we can check off that the agent, whoever is currently sending this document, in this case, it's myself, should be the last signer. Previously, if you were going to be a signer on the document, you had to submit that signature before sending it out to any potential clients or prospects. Now we're going to have the ability to add my signature fields. Okay, but I do not have to sign it at this moment. I can click next, and I will send this out to my client first. And then once the submission comes through, I will be able to go in and complete my signature. And then that will still send out the completed document notification. You'll still receive that copy, and it will still forward over to the assigned contact as normal. The only thing that we're changing logic-wise is we're removing that limiter that forced you to sign the document first, rather than being able to have it submitted by the client first. Any shorter questions on that one? Okay. I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and move on then to the last main feature I have to talk about today, which is going to be AI text replies. Okay. So what I can do is I can see I had this text message come in from my Alex Text account, and I can initiate the reply directly from this AI button here, and I can click a draft reply. So based on the text message I received, right, it looks like they're preparing to close on a house and they want to get a homeowner's policy, right? So now I can see in my response field what has the AI drafted up for me. Right? So it looks like, hey, I'm glad to hear you're closing on a new home. Be more than happy to assist with the policy. Let's get on a call tomorrow and figure out what times works best for us to schedule. Right? This response looks great to me. If you are happy with that response that was generated by the AI, we can just click send, and that will immediately go back to the client. However, once we've generated the initial reply, we do have access to the same tools as any other AI response in our system, right? We can expand upon this initial text message. We could rephrase it if we're not kind of happy with the initial first sentence, right? We can make it more friendly. We can make it more formal. And we can translate to any of the 3 languages listed here, whether it's English, Spanish, or Mandarin. So if I say I want to go ahead and rephrase this message, okay, we'll have to make sure we go through this and remove any additional text that was added. But you can see that there have been some slight changes made to this, right? If I do not like the rephrase text, I can click on this button here to undo the change. And that will revert me back to the original drafted reply. Okay. Once we're kind of satisfied with this reply that we've created, we can click on the send button, and that message will now go out to the client. Any sort of questions on that AI reply feature? So what'll happen is when we receive that next response from Alex, right, when he messages back and gives us a date and a time, right, we can say that again, and say, um, okay, so I'm going to send a reply back. That text message has been sent out. I see it right here. And again, I can draft another reply to this message. Okay. And then we'll be able to draft the second follow-up, right, for the next communication. And then this worst case scenario, obviously, you don't have to use text reply. You can always just type in a standard response and use our other AI tools to rephrase it, right? Just pretty simple. Okay. That is the reply via AI tool. Any questions on kind of that capability, how we send out the communication, or any of our other AI triggers here to transform the text? I don't see anything in the chat. So just to kind of reiterate, all of the features that I've gone through today, you can find their knowledge base articles in this release notes section. For instance, we just looked at reply using OpenAI. If we click on this knowledge base article, it will again walk you step by step through the process of sending out that reply via the AI tool. If you have any follow-up questions, whether it's relating to the features we talked about today, or if you just need assistance with your account, please don't hesitate. Contact your CSM, contact the support team for assistance. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the demo portal here. We're going to switch back to our slides real quick. As I mentioned before, this is kind of last chance opportunity. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they need to follow up on from the features I've shown here today? All right. I don't see anything coming in, so I'll just move on. We've got a few more slides here to kind of go over. For one, the InsuredMine Academy is available to all users in the InsuredMine system. We have agent and admin certification courses that you can take that will walk you through the basics of some of our most used modules, like pipeline, like engagement, like eSign. There are video tutorials and quizzes on there that you can review. We also have integration guides for every AMS that we work with. So if you want to learn more about the integration that we offer with your particular AMS, assist the InsuredMine Academy and sign up for that course. As well, we also invite you guys to register for our upcoming webinar sessions. Each webinar we hold every Wednesday, and I believe next week's webinar is going to be hosted by, let me just confirm before I say anything too crazy. I believe next week's webinar is going to be on CRMs for agencies versus AMS. I think that one's going to be hosted by our CEO, Roshan Jaiswal. So I would definitely recommend joining that session. If you have not already registered for it, you can use the QR code to go to our webinars page and register for that session and any other upcoming sessions we have, as well as review the recordings for our past sessions as well. And the last one here, we do appreciate any feedback that you guys have for us on these sessions. Anything you would love to share with our team so that we can continue to improve these sessions, any specific topics you would like to see covered. If you're interested in joining us for a future session as a guest speaker, we'd love to hear it. So please feel free to submit your feedback here using the QR code. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And so before I wrap, I do see a question from Chloe. Have you guys already resolved the issue of sending duplicate multiple texts and emails? Chloe, I'm not sure what automation exactly you have set up in your system, but there is a way to group multiple renewals together so that instead of sending out, a communication today for their auto policy, and then in 2 weeks they get a communication for their homeowner's policy, we can group them all together in one workflow. So we send out one email communication for both. And that's just a toggle you would set up in your respective automation. So Montserrat added the link to our support email there. So I would follow up with them and see if we can get everything sorted out for you.
Yep.
But that is all that I have. So I'll pass it back to Montserrat to close it off.